Morning to all. It's a privilege to be here today to share with you my little story of how it all began and how it led me to Tyndale. Um, I am very strict with time, so I would not like to waste much time. I'll go down to it. So, my name's Joel Ebai Ngvue. As we know, Ngvue is my family name and Joel Ebai my given names. I will not say much about my country today because we'll be hearing it. We've heard from my brother Jovens and we're going to hear from my brother Carson more. But please just go back, slide back. But one thing about where I come from, as Reverend said, it's characterized with a mountain, which is basically one of Africa's largest volcanoes, as we can see, and it's about 13 or 14 feet tall. So this is where I lived, and it's found in the English-speaking region of Cameroon. But I am a blend from two tribes found in the southwest, reason why I have Ngvue as my first name and Eba as the second name. And one of my tribe is closer to Nigeria. And if anyone knows about the tribe, they usually say in that village, when you see RIP on the grave of someone from that village, it does not mean rest in peace. It means remember if possible, because they are noted for not dying. They just change status. They don't die. So that's one thing. So when they hear of the name Ebai, people are scared that no, these people, they used to call them, they die and get up. That's one thing about that tribe. So please, the next slide. So my church is basically part of my life. I cannot talk about my church without talking about my life, because my life was structured based on church. Basically, I was a member of a couple of choirs. I was in a traditional choir which sings my mother's native language, temple choir, where I used to sing the second part with my mom. I was a member of the English choir, which we sing choral music to glorify God. And I also served there as an active president and also a music director for a couple of years. I was there for 15 years. And I was also in Dola Cristo, which sings in another native language, which is similar to my paternal language. Apart from this, I also took part in lay preacher worship, that's leading of service and reading of lessons in church. And we had a very good community. We had activities that we used to organize every Monday, such as sports. So you have the pastor and the Christians. We form football teams, table tennis teams, and everyone comes on a Monday and meets to play. Reason being that Mondays are noted for no activity in our region because of the crisis that is currently going on. So on Mondays, no offices open, both government or wherever, schools, nothing. So everyone stays home. Even the markets are shut down. So we use that as a means to meet and get to know ourselves as Christians, which was a fun game. Moving to my life, like I said, the church is one part of me. The second part of my life is the farm. Yes, I'm a strong farmer. In one of my hobbies, farming is my very first hobby. Yes, and I always tell my friends and they laugh. Yes, I've been so much into agriculture despite the busy schedules we had as a young person growing up, that it constituted a major part of me. And also, if you see here, this is my lovely family. Yeah, that's my little face up there in the middle when I was still very tiny. Unfortunately, the clearer pictures are in my hard drive, but I don't have a hard drive cable to transfer, so this was the best I could get. Yes, then you can still see the face there. That was when I was still enjoying life. I did not know what life was still about, because you can see my cheeks are all plumpy. And that's my mom at the center, my dad, and two of my cousins. These are very important ladies in my life because they grew me up as a man, as a baby. So There we are basically four of us, but in the house, people know them as the senior ones, and we respect them as that also. Because if not for them, maybe I would have not been here. They took good care of me. Then we have my sister. Please don't laugh at the color. I'm a total opposite to the complexions of my parents. As you can see, she's very fair, and her little daughter, which most people are tempted to think is my wife and daughter when I put her on my status or profile. And these are the other boys. You have the two boys, so we are basically four of us. And that's my lovely family. Yes, that's me when life has started getting to me. You see the jaws are now sunken a little bit. So the third part of my life was the laboratory. They used to tell me, if you are looking for Joel, you don't look for him in his house. Either I look for him in church or the lab, because these were the places where I spent half of my life. I was a volunteer as a lab technician in one of the postgraduate research labs at the university where I had my master's, basically in molecular biology. And cut the long story short, we're working basically on designing vaccines for infectious disease using computerized models and testing on animals. So I did this, and I was opportune to supervise some lovely young students, which we have, and my supervisor at the center. Please go back. Yes, thank you. And also, I'm a very stern person. Even though I grew up in the in the town, unfortunately, I was not born in my paternal village and still struggling to learn the language very much. But I am a very stern person who respects culture. So most at times for gatherings, you would rather see me put on my cultural attire than any English attire, as you can call the suits. So I'm noted for that even in my schools. That's why you always see me, even on the day of convocation, I was with my traditional attire. Yeah. This next slide. Now, life in Cameroon is not a very easy one for all of my brothers who are young. You get to face a lot of challenges, and sometimes you really have to search yourself to have a personal encounter with God. It does not suffice to you to just go to church every Sunday and listen to the good preachings and your field, but you need more of that because it's difficult, I must say. And growing up as a young man, especially after my master's, I realized maybe God had a plan for me, but it was not clear because, I've been out of school for 4 years before coming back into Tyndale. And it was not like I just decided not to go back to school, but things were really hard. And so I resorted to voluntary work and church activities as a sole means of maybe keeping me going. And during those harsh moments, what I realized was the only place I could find peace of mind and joy was in the house of worship and the Word of God. I was in a very bad incident where I was a victim of a crisis in our country, where I was actually abducted by the rebel group. And usually, from people who come from there, they know what happens. There are two outcomes from you. Either they decapitate a part of your body or they kill you. So I was opportune to, I will not say it's my own strength, but God made it that I could escape from their camp, because they took me right to their camp. And at that point, it did a turn in my life. Like everything went wrong, everything went bad. From how it was somehow good to bad. And I guess this was my own position in life where God really wanted me to acknowledge that there is a direction which He has put in place for me, apart from being the scientist I've always been. So I sat after a while and thought that, but of course I'm not going to school. I cannot also sit that because I don't have a job. I will not also serve in the house of God. So for some of us we have the psychology that you cannot go to church on Sunday, maybe if you don't have very good clothes, if you don't have money for offerings, because that's how the notion we have back home. Because we live in a system where every Sunday you have a basket in front, you move and give your offerings and your tithes. I was in that situation where no job, no finance, sometimes not even a good shoe to wear, but yet I had to make sure I go to church. And this was where I learned that true worship does not come with all what we put on our bodies, but just basically with what comes from the heart. And so I served diligently, even in these times, and things began to get better. I will not say they were so nice, but they began to get better. So this has been a point where my sister also had to get married. You can imagine, for the first son of a family and your sister is getting married, you don't even have a job. It's a difficult thing because your mind, you cannot even present something good for your sister. And it was not an easy point. But during this period, I realized that her marriage was also a blessing to me and my family, because I got to encounter the husband who introduced me to his elder brother, which happens to be a Tyndale alumni. And back home, the Bible schools we have, they are not really so general focused as Tyndale. They are more denominationally based. So if you are going to a Bible school, it's either a Baptist Bible school and you come out with the doctrines of a Baptist. And so apart from being a student at the university, I was a part of a movement, a student organization that was like a biblical group where we tried to meet with youths, with students, and sensitize them about the Bible. We used to have meetings every Wednesdays and Fridays, but it was not so formal because it's very difficult to legalize such a group in my university. There was some kind of in the past year, some groups came up and they were doing certain wrong things. So the dean, the vice chancellor of the institution was not pleased with such religious movements. So we had to look for means to sometimes organize conferences out of school. And surprisingly, we were amazed by the number of young people who were eager to listen to what we have, because we realized the young people believe so much in another young person who is sharing their story with them and telling them about what the scripture says. They believe so much in it. And so I, in my position of knowing so many youths and having it easy to interact with them, I got to use this opportunity. But then there was an offer to get into a Bible school. And sometimes we have dreams, we have revelations, but it's difficult to interpret on the first go. That is why God can tell you that, oh, you are going to travel or you are going to be the president in 10 years' time, but you are going to be the president, but now you don't know how long or how soon. And that does not mean you should sit and relax because you have been given a revelation or a promise that, no, you are going to be great. It means you still have a lot of work to do. And so I kept on doing that work, but I was not convinced within myself to go to a Bible school yet. And even though in church people used to say, this guy, why won't you write the seminary exam and stuff like that? I always tell them, I think I'm called to serve in the vineyard of the Lord, but I don't have the conviction that I'm called to be a pastor. And this is something people get mixed up with back home. The moment you are praised and you have some kind of spiritually filled aura around you, you think maybe you must be a pastor. That is not it. So we must, within ourselves and our union with God, search and ask for that which He has sent us, that domain which He has sent us to serve. And one of the things I believe very much I've been called to serve is in music. I always say this is my aspect of music, like using music to glorify God. That is composition of music, and that's an area I very much look forward to build a worship section of the ministry. Apart from that, I would say revolution is gradual. who knows, God might have another plan for me in future. So the heart is open. Wherever and whatever he tells me to do, I will serve. And that brought me to Tyndale with the beautiful faces you see there. And my journey with Tyndale, when I was told about the school, it was not easy to accept it on first note. Reason being that financial challenges for some of us coming here was not easy. We could say we still saw the hands of God in it, because if not of God, some of us would have not been here. So if for our brothers who maybe were in a different setting from Africa, it is paramount for you to experience God. In fact, you experience him every day in your life. Maybe it's different here, but you experience. I used to make a joke with my brother saying that if we take a pastor from the Western world, European pastor, and make him to spend just 1 month in a voodooistic African village where they do the native beliefs of you sleep in the night and someone comes and attack you, and the next morning you see the person greeting you and ask you, how did you sleep? And I used to tell them that these pastors will have a change of how they view certain aspects of the Bible. Yeah, because it's difficult. It's a different world out there. Very difficult. So you can imagine what I say. If you sleep at night, maybe you sleep on your bed and you get up and you find yourself in the football field. Those are the things that happen. Yeah. So it's real. It's not like it's a joking matter. But we as young people there, we try to find God in order to overcome these evil forces and also to build our faith. And even though African is blooming, we have a major challenge with a lot of false teachings coming up also. And so these are one of the aspects where I really wish we should pray for Africa and other nations as well. We should also pray for the leaders of Cameroon as well as the world at large. We know Africa is going through a lot of crises, but this does not exclude the world. Ukraine, Russia also has, and this is something between leaders. So in as much as we are in Africa, the Western world too also have. So I believe if we start praying for each other, it's going to bring a change. One of the words of, I'm not come here to preach, but one of the, one of the most pertinent Psalms that I always use is Psalms 124, which we just sang today, that says, had it not been the Lord who was on our side. And these were some of the things that give me joy every morning when I get up and I sing it. It gives me joy, and I so much love the Psalms because when I sing, it's like it touches me. It reflects God's life, all hands in my life. And this has been my journey, and I believe the journey still continues from here. And I pray God can give me the right direction that I might be able to serve him diligently in whatever direction he leads me. Thank you.